Okay, this is about Fire in the Sky. Um, this is a great alien movie. Definitely one of my favorites. Um, Definitely kind of feels like an X Files, really good X Files episode. But and it's based on a true story. I mean, some people will be like, "Yeah, right," but the guys swear it's basically true. I mean, the guy it happened to, who was, he says he was abducted by aliens, and the other guys, and they witnessed him in the beginning of the movie. They're all loggers. They're cutting down trees, and they ended the day, and then they're going home, and they see this fire in the sky, as it says, and they stop, and they're looking at it, and then this guy gets out of the vehicle, and then he's like looking at the light, and then a light shines on him. I mean, right out of like an X Files episode, and then he kind of levitates in the air and then gets thrown back, and then some of them think he's killed, and the guy who plays his best friend, um, Robert Patrick, who's awesome in the movie. Maybe his best performance. I mean, obviously him as a T-1000's awesome, but this, he barely talks in that movie, so really good performance, and he's like his best friend, and the guy's dating his sister, and yeah, and then he disappears, and then they leave because the guys are like, oh, it's gonna come after us, and there's five guys and the guy who was abducted, and then they leave. They go down the road. The thing's not chasing them. Robert Patrick is like, no, I gotta go back, because he's like, this isn't right. And so he goes back, and the guy's gone. And then he picks all the other guys up, and then they go to a bar, and then he calls the police, and no one believes their story. Um, but anyways, it's a really good movie. Check it out if you haven't seen it. It's the director that did the Mighty Ducks, which I haven't seen that in a long time, but this is really well directed. And I was kind of like, man, this guy didn't do much I've seen. And he did an episode of the X Files. I'm not sure which one, which makes sense. You would get that guy. It's like, hey, can you direct an episode of the X Files? I mean, this is almost like an X Files unofficial movie without Mulder and Scully, um, but yeah, I saw this movie years ago. I really liked it, and like I said, it's based on a true story. I mean, I guess some people could be like, well, they're all hallucinating. It doesn't really make sense to me because it's like they're all seeing the same thing. Can five people hallucinate the same thing, like the exact same thing? And then the guy that is abducted too, and he disappears for like 5 days, and then, well, I'll get into spoilers now. And then he reappears out of the forest at like a gas station, and calls Robert Patrick, and then he goes there and picks him up because the entire town thinks that they killed the guy, and then they think that because there was Craig Sheffer. He's been in a bunch of stuff. River runs through it. I don't know, but yeah, I've seen him before. Um, and yeah, and they really suspect him because him and that guy had a beef. They didn't like each other. Earlier that day, they were fighting, and then the guy who disappears, his brother, looks into his past, and he has a criminal record and for like assault. Um, but yeah, really good cast. And man, who's the detective? And then there's the detective. He's a famous actor. Um, man, what's his name? Noble Willingham is the sheriff. He's been in tons of stuff too. Trying to find the detective's name who comes in from. Is he like from out of state? Oh man, he's in the Taking of 310 to Yuma. No, our Taking a Pelham. That's it. Taking a Pelham 123, which is another great movie. The original. Check out the original. Walter Matthau. No, wait, no, it's not him. Man, he just kind of reminds me of him. What? Well, whatever. Um, but yeah, I highly recommend this movie if you're a sci-fi fan. If you're into UFOs or aliens or anything, or X Files. Um, but yeah, and they all suspect that they killed him, or then that guy killed him. They won't take a polygraph, and then they end up taking a polygraph, and it's like inconclusive. But the guy, he says like one person is inconclusive, but everyone else he thinks is telling the truth. Um, and the town is like really angry. They're almost ready to get violent with them. And Robert Patrick's like he was like my best friend. I wouldn't hurt him. And but in the trivia it says that the guy it happened to, the real Travis Walton and Dana Walton make cameo appearances in the scene where the townspeople discuss what to do about Travis' disappearance. Oh, there were actually a total of 7 men in the logging crew. The writers whittled them down to 6 for the movie, not wishing to confuse the audience with too many characters. All 7 men have passed lie detectors tests, some of them twice. Yeah, and the depiction of the aliens is different. He says because in the movie they're very violent and scary and great effects too. Great practical effects on the aliens. Really good. They kind of Hollywoodized that, but other than that, I think the account is very close. But the abduction portrayal in the movie actually had nothing to do with Travis Walton's account. After being struck by the light, Walton remembers waking up on a table surrounded by 3 aliens, whom he described as their ball heads were disproportionately large for their puny bodies. They had bulging, oversized craniums, a small jaw structure, and an underdeveloped appearance to their features that was almost infantile. Their thin lipped mouths were narrow. I never saw them open. Lying close to their heads, on either side were tiny, crinkled lobes of ears. Their miniature rounded noses had small oval nostrils, so their eyes were huge. According to Walton's account, he leaped up from the table, grabbed an instrument on a nearby table, wielded it as a weapon, and swung it at the aliens. They filed out of the room. Walton walked into a room with a high backed chair in the middle and took a seat. Upon operating a set of controls, he deduced that he was in some sort of observatory. Suddenly, a man in a blue suit with a green helmet came through a doorway. When Walton spoke to him, he didn't respond. He merely guided Walton through the doorway. The wordless man led Walton through a doorway out of a saucer-like object into a hangar filled with other saucers, down a hallway, and into a room that featured three more humans. Wow, this is weird. Walton's questions continued to go unanswered as they motioned for him to lie down on the table. One of the humans, a woman, placed a mask over his face and he immediately passed out. All of this was consciously recollected by Walton, and when undergoing hypnotic regression, soon after the incident, he revealed no further information. Okay. And stated that if he felt as though delving any deeper would kill him. So, that definitely is different. But the core thing is true that he says he was abducted. But, yeah, he was on Joe Rogan's podcast and did an interview. Um, Pretty good. Definitely check it out. Oh, Travis Walton always resented the movie, which he says I didn't get that feeling on the Joe Rogan interview. He just said, yeah, when once he goes up into the ship, it's different, and it's more scary. I think in the movie, although what happens in that's pretty weird and creepy. So I don't know. But she says misrepresents his experience, especially the abduction scene. Yeah, which bears little resemblance. Screenwriter admits, saying that Walton's description was deemed too similar to other media portrayals of alien abduction reports, so they wrote a flashier, more provocative scenario. Yeah, I think you could have kept some of that though, because I don't know if they even show how he gets out of there. 3 years after the film release, Walton responded with a book called Fire in the Sky, The Walton Experience, clarifying his own account of the events. He's also spoken many times of trying to get the story retold on film again, this time in a way where it retains some control to ensure the movie reflects his account of what happened. There's been little sign of the project getting off the ground. Yeah, probably, because this movie's pretty famous, I mean, for sci fi fans. Anne Rice said that it was the scariest movie she's seen on screen. Hey, there we go, Anne Rice. I just reviewed her movie. Fire in the Sky is a verse from the lyrics of the extremely popular rock song Smoke on the Water by the band Deep Purple. So the second movie Henry Thomas has starred in. Oh, he's the kid in E.T. His first is the famous performance as Elliot in E.T. Oh, that's weird. That's a good movie too. Um, I like this better though. Cousins is also, I mean, somewhat true. I think the core parts, still it's pretty accurate to what they say. Except, yeah, once you get into the spaceship, it's different. But like, I'm not sure if they tortured him. Like in this, they're kind of like torturing him. Like in the X Files, like spoilers when Mulder gets abducted. Kind of reminds me of that of this. Robert Patrick and Peter Berg also appear in the film Copland. Oh, okay. Oh, he's in Copland. That's a good movie. So, so yeah, I like it. Industrial Lights and Magic handle the special effects. At the time the movie was being made, James Cameron held the rights to Spider-Man, with ILM providing the special effects. Sweeney thought that if he could do the wire work on Fire in the Sky and do it well, then this work would be in his audition for Spider-Man. Yeah, of course, Cameron never made that. Unfortunately, we'll like to see that, um, but yeah, I really like the movie. It's I mean, it is so kind of scary, I guess, but it has a happy ending. I mean, I'd say so. So, unfortunately, Robert Patrick and the abductee, um, like they're really good friends in the beginning of the movie. Um, DB Sweeney, that's the guy that's abducted. They're really good friends in the beginning of the movie, but then they kind of have a falling out because the guy kind of blames him for leaving. He's like, "You left me there to die," and Robert Patrick's like, "Well, we thought you were dead, and all the other guys were screaming at me to get out of there." And yeah, I mean, it'd be pretty scary. I mean, they see them like basically levitate and then thrown to the ground. It's like, how did that happen? You know, um, and they thought they were gonna be killed too. But they're like angry at each other. And then at the end of the movie, it's like 2.5 years later, and he goes to see him, and he talks, and he's like, it's not your fault, and they pretty much make up. But I think their friendship was pretty much over, broken by then. So, but yeah, awesome movie, really good cast. Um, Especially Robert Patrick. I've always really liked him as an actor, and he's in the X Files too, of course. Um, and him replacing Mulder, not sure about that, but it's not it's not Robert Patrick's fault. It's like David Duchovny apparently wanted to go do other things, and it's too bad. But you know, um, that's season 8 and 9 that happens. Eight's actually pretty good, but nine it doesn't end well like the last season. And then they had the revival and all that, but that's a whole separate topic. But yeah, Robert Patrick's awesome in it. It's one of his best performances I've seen. I should rewatch Copland, but I don't think he's in it that much. But but yeah, check out the movie. It's really good. Really good alien abduction movie. Good sci-fi movie. I think it's really well directed too. So great effects also. Good job ILM. Um, and check out the podcast with Joe Rogan with the real Travis Walton. So, but that's about it. Like, comment, subscribe, and that's it.